Hi, Mark here, and this is about video number 87 of this step. So my right first time approach is certainly being tested very sorely. I'm going to talk to you about the eighth step on the road to ethical power, and that step deals explicitly with our relationship with organizations. We are unique individuals, we have our talents, we have our beliefs, we have our values, and it's how this step deals with how we interact with organizations and collectives, including the biggest organization of all, which is the society that we live in. The organizations that we belong to, be they work, school, education, religious institutions, social organizations, or society as a whole, they have their rules, they have their culture, the way they do things. There will be laws in society, literally laws that we could be taken to court over. In organizations, they could be codes of conduct. So there are some kind of laws or rules that are there. And not all of these rules are written down. Some of them we have to learn. They're almost unwritten ones. And those rules, those laws, that culture, essentially is about that organisation engendering some kind of conformity in its membership. In other words, it wants compliance of some description. So in a work organisation, it might be rules about what working hours are, what you can do and not do at work, what's acceptable conduct. In society, it might be about much the same thing. What is acceptable, what's legal and what's not? What does a good citizen do? And those cultures, rules and laws are about compliance. They are about conformity. And the pressure is on for us as individuals to conform. And to a considerable extent, we may want to. However, to remain an ethically powerful individual means that there will be times where actually conformity is not the thing we should be doing. And this is the step we go to in those situations. So how do organizations get conformity? Well, let's take society as the biggest organization of all. Often it does it through quite negative means. So it emphasizes threats to it. It emphasizes the bad, and scapegoats in some cases too. So in the last 10 years we've had the war on terror, we've had bird flu, we've had immigration raised as an issue in the recent UK general election, we've had the banking collapse, the banking crisis, the recession, possibly a double dip recession. So there is a raising of threats, of bad things, that in turn engender a sense of insecurity and uncertainty in ourselves, possibly fear. And those are very disempowering feelings. If we feel uncertain, if we feel a real sense of fear, then we're not likely or not as likely to take our own power in our lives. So that's what society does. If we work for a company, what do they do? Well, they emphasise the competition, and their big competition, their big threats. If we don't meet that threat, we might not be here in 2 years' time. Technology becomes a big thing that gets used. That can become a threat. And organisations whip up discontent as a means to justify change that is implemented at work. Religious organisations, it might be that other religions are seen as the bad guys, and they're hammed up as a threat. And there are many parts of the world where that is quite explicit. And the war on terror has an underpinning religious tone to it as well. So collectives, collective organisations and societies build up the threats to it. They build up the threat to them. They build up the bad news. And by doing that, they engender a sense of fear in us, and that fear and that insecurity leads to us perhaps disempowering ourselves at times. And what are the results of all of this? Well, if I think about the conversations I have with people, 95% of the conversations I would say, I have with people who have a sense that in some way they're not in control of their own life. They're on a treadmill and it's going in a direction and there's nothing they can do about it. It's almost like they have a timetabled life. They have to work 12 hours a day. They're chasing their tail all the time. They've got to juggle a family with it. God knows where they fit the hobbies in, and visiting relatives and all the rest of it. And they're just chasing around all the time, not in control. That's the reality that a lot of people think they have. And indeed, it is what they have because it's what they see as the reality. But consider the other situation, the other end of that spectrum. We have never been as well off as we are now. You know, we're better off now than we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We can afford things now and do things that our parents' generation at our age could only dream about. We have never had so much opportunity to take empowering decisions for ourselves. Technology has been enabling, it's freed us up. Even take the BlackBerry as a great example. The advertising for the BlackBerry emphasises, love what you do. You can do what you want. You can keep in connection with other people no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. But consider how many people view a BlackBerry. It's a ball and chain around their ankle. It stops them from leaving work. Even when they've physically left the office, they've still got this attachment and the mobile phone. So there's a sense of treadmill and slavery, and I can't get away from this. My life is not my own. So we have this real discontinuity or tension between the sense that many people have of not being in control of their own lives and never having so much opportunity to actually define their own life. We are so well off now, we could choose to cut our working hours. We could choose to give ourselves more leisure time. We could choose our lifestyle to a much greater extent than before. We could choose to live in a smaller house and still have enough space to live and do something more fulfilling with our work. But most of us behave as if that's not the case, and we are stuck with what we're stuck with. That is the result of not reconciling the organisational pressures for compliance with our own desire for something for ourselves. No wonder we have highest numbers ever being treated for depression, stress. And when I started work 25 years ago, a midlife crisis was something you got maybe in your mid-40s. Now I'm in my mid-40s and I see people going into what looks like a midlife crisis in their late 20s. So the symptoms of this step to power not being there for many people are very, very clear to me. So step 8 on the road to ethical power is recognising the power of the collective, but being true to yourself, taking your stand, and recognising that sometimes conformity will not serve you, and it will not serve those around you. And as a human being, making your stand can be really important, and being powerful. I'll leave you with one final thought on conformity and the pressure for it. If you think, and it's a bit trivial this one, but go with it. If you think about fashion, the conformists do not set the fashion. The person that sets the fashion is the person that looks at an outfit and says, I think I'll chop the sleeves off and do something else with the bottom half of it, and then I'll wear it. And then in a year's time, everyone else will be wearing it, because someone else will have thought, that looks good, I'll wear it. And then in a year's time, everyone will be following that person. That's what fashion is. Non-conformists are the true powerful individuals. Conformists don't change a thing. So think about where you conform and why you conform, and make some decisions about whether there are some areas of your life where you interact with your work, your church, and this society. Well, are there some areas where perhaps non-conformity would serve you better because it would be more in line with your values and your beliefs? And that's what step 8 on the road to ethical power is all about. So I'll leave you with that thought. Go and chop some sleeves off and do something different this week. And next week I'll talk to you about the final step on the road to ethical power. But from me, Mark here, I'll leave you for now. Bye for now.